I love playing Vanguards or tanks in Marvel Rivals. They are basically my favorite class in the game and I have a ton of fun with them. And in this video I literally just want to talk about why is that, why do I have so much fun with them, and why is it that maybe in my opinion they are the most nuanced class in the game. So that one day I can motivate you to pick up a Vanguard and give it a try so that maybe you can have a ton of fun with the game. So let's start with it. The first reason why I love playing Vanguards, and maybe you should give them a try too, is because their main goal or task every game, their main resource or thing that they help their team with, is very flexible, which is taking up space. As simple as that. A Vanguard doesn't need to necessarily, get a ton of kills, damage, whatever it is. Probably the only stat that you should be worried about is your number of deaths, how many times you can survive, and that is going to help you to take up space. But taking up space in a game can be very different from another one, and you have to be flexible to fulfill that role, because on one game taking up space can be, for example, putting pressure on the enemy supports, but on other game it can be peeling your supports, and on another game it can be basically fighting the enemy tanks and stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's very nuanced because it's not always the same, and I feel like that is the only role in this game that has that level of flexibility. Of course, supports and DPS players also have to adapt to different situations, but I feel like tanks or Vanguards have to do it more and more frequently, and I like playing that game. I like being the guy that has to adapt and think like, okay, which strategy do I have to execute this game to get a good result? What does my team need from me now? And I really love doing that, and I feel like it's something unique to tanks. And I think that maybe you should experience that too. It's very fun to play a game based on adaptation, especially on a game that has this gameplay. So I recommend you to pick up a Vanguard and give it a try, just so you can maybe enjoy that flexibility when it comes to what it is really taking up space to help your team. And then we have the second reason why I love playing tanks, which is connected to everything I've said before, and that is versatility. I've said that you need to adapt, right? That you need to be able to change your strategy every single game to see what your team needs, or maybe see what is the enemy team weak point to exploit it. Sometimes you need to be more offensive and play something like Thor, for example. In other games, you need to peel and play the Thing. And I love that not only the pool of characters in the Vanguard role is really versatile, but also each Vanguard in itself can also be very versatile. The Thing, for example, is great for peeling because he has a ton of CC. He's very strong in that sense when it comes to protecting your team, but he can also be very good on the offensive because of the same CC options that he has. So I love that every character in the Vanguard role in this game can be offensive and defensive at the same time. You just need to adapt and see what is that you need to execute. And of course, some characters are better at defending than attacking, but they can do anything, and I love that they can do anything because it basically leaves you with a very wide range of freedom in terms of gameplay. You can play whatever you want, and if you're able to adapt, you're going to succeed with any character, and I really love that. I love that Vanguards have that logic in their game plan in this game, and I think that it makes the game very fun to play over time, and it basically takes away the possibility of boredom, the possibility of getting bored with tanks. If you actually enjoy playing tanks, you're never gonna get bored, because SimCity is a game of adaptability and it's also a game of versatility. You always have options to experience something new. And then we have the third reason, which I also love and I think that is very relevant, and that is impact. A lot of the time when I play Vanguard, if I'm actually doing my job well, if it feels like I'm taking all the decisions right, I'm using my cooldowns in the right way, and you can see that I'm having an exceptionally good performance, it always feels like I'm one of the most impactful persons in the lobby. It's very crazy how much impact a good Vanguard can have, especially if you're solo tanking. There's a ton of games in which you have to play solo tank because no one else wants to, and if you play solo tank well, it really feels like you're an unmovable wall, like you're really winning the game almost by yourself. Of course, the team is helping you, they are playing with you, and if they are not playing with you well, you're gonna lose even if you're doing super well. But what I mean is that at the end of the day, if you play tank well, it feels like you can put your team on their shoulders and get that win, and I love that. I love playing a role that has a stable way of carrying. And I think that tank or Vanguards really have that in Marvel Rivals. Like, if you play well, dude, it really feels like you have a ton of impact. And then another reason why I love playing Vanguards, and this is a little more specific but still relevant, is their ultimates. I feel like Vanguards have some of the most awesome ultimates in the game. Like, a lot of the time your ultimate, if you use it well, can turn up an entire fight, and I really like that. For example, Thor has a really good ultimate. I feel like it's a little underappreciated, but if you get a good Thor ultimate, it literally destroys the enemy team. Like, it puts a ton of damage on the tanks. It basically melts the squishes, you know, like DPS and supports. And other characters, of course, have like very strong meta ultimates, like Magneto, for example. Strange still has some of the best ultimates in the game. He's, of course, nerfed, but his ultimate still some of the best. And I think that if you use that cooldown well, you know, when you use a Vanguard's ultimate in the right way, in many ways, it feels like the best ultimate in the lobby also, and I love that. I think that it is amazing to use Vanguard's ultimates well. It's so satisfying. Support ults, of course, are kind of like objectively better still because they basically define every game. But if you use a Vanguard ult, well, it feels really good. And then my last reason as to why I love playing Vanguards in this game is just how they look. I feel like their visual design is very appealing. There's a ton of characters that are tanks that look very cool in their base skin, like Venom, Doctor Strange, Thor. Also, some Vanguards have skins that make them look like some of the best characters in the game, like the Thing, of course, with the coat skin, you know, that looks like a detective. It's very cool. And those are basically all my reasons as to why I love playing Vanguards. And now, as the last section of this video, I want to talk about a list of Marvel characters that I would like to see in the Vanguard role in the future that need to be in Marvel Rivals. My first future Vanguard that I would love to see in this game is Colossus. I think that Colossus would be an amazing Vanguard because, you know, he has like a metal body, is basically famous for brute force, and I would love to see him as a Vanguard. Not only his base design would probably be very cool, but also he would probably have a kit of abilities that would be very fun to use. So I would love to see Colossus in this game. And we're having now, you know, sort of like an X-Men themed season kind of, so it would make sense for Colossus to having a spot in the game very soon. Then another character, another X-Men that I would like to see in the Vanguard role in Marvel Rivals is Juggernaut. I think that Juggernaut needs to be a Vanguard in this game. I have a close connection with the character because of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, you know, in my childhood, and I would love to see him in this game as a tank. I think that, again, very cool kit or possible kit of abilities. Also, he would probably look very insane because he has a cool design. And in this game, with the visual style that the game has, it will probably look very nice. So Juggernaut will probably be a very good addition in the Vanguard role. And then the last Vanguard that I would love to see in the game is Drax the Destroyer. I think that with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and how successful they were, adding Drax to the game makes a lot of sense. And I know that he could also be a DPS character in many ways, more than a tank. But since we're probably gonna get a ton of DPS characters anyway, it would probably be a good idea to use Drax as a Vanguard, since he's already kind of like a big guy, you know, kind of tanky. And I think that it would be very fun because also he would be like a very unserious character. So he would probably have like the most stupid voice lines in the game, and I would love to see that. So that was the video for today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe, leave a comment. What do you think of Marvel Rivals? And keep enjoying the game. See you on the next one.